Today, I'm boarding my shortest and cheapest cruise to date. In fact, this is one of the shortest and cheapest ocean cruises available anywhere in the world. I'm going to show you what it's like to board a huge cruise ship that can hold almost 4,000 passengers for just one night. I'll show you what it's like on board. I'll also tell you what does and doesn't work with this type of cruise experience. Will this feel anything like a real cruise, or is this just going to feel like a huge ferry? Well, I guess there's only one way to find out. Now, let's get started in Barcelona, Spain. Today I'm boarding one of the most unique cruises that I've ever taken, and this is also the cheapest cruise that I've ever taken, so I am intrigued at what this cruise has got in store for me. I'll tell you more about exactly how much I paid for this trip later on in the video. Now, what makes this cruise unique is that it's only a one-night cruise. That's right. One night. I am boarding here in Barcelona in Spain. The weather is beautiful, hence my sunglasses, and I will be leaving the ship tomorrow morning in Marseille in France. Now, why am I taking a one-night cruise, you might be asking? There's a whole number of reasons, but first of all, I've cruised with Costa many times before. They are a cruise line that gets a notoriously mixed reputation. The good reviews are usually really good. The bad reviews are usually really quite bad. And I, up until now, haven't necessarily agreed with all of the bad reviews. I think that they offer a really solid cruise product. Fingers crossed that same logic pulls through on this cruise. Now, I want to get on board for a short cruise because when I've cruised in the past, I've been on for 7 nights or 14 nights, and I have seen so many people boarding for these relatively infamous short hops that go between Spain, France, Italy, and it felt weird to me as a British cruiser that you would come on to one of these enormous cruise ships for one night. So I'm on to see, will this feel like a ferry? Will this feel like a really inferior cruise product? Or will it actually feel like a cruise? I have got so many questions. Even things like my luggage, which you can see behind me. What happens with that? Do I just get on the ship and then immediately leave it outside the cabin door to be taken off tomorrow? Do I have to carry it myself? I'm not really too sure how any of this is going to pan out, so I guess we're on this journey together. Now, one of the other reasons why I wanted to try this cruise ship in particular, because some of you watching this might have never heard of Costa Pacifica before. She is actually one of the sister ships to Costa Concordia. Now, I won't go into the details of Costa Concordia in this video, because we all know, unfortunately, what happened there, but that is a story and a ship that has fascinated me for years, so I'm really excited and intrigued to get on to Pacifica to see how she compares to what I've seen from onboard Concordia. But anyway, look, I have so many questions about this cruise. I'm excited to get on board, and I guess the only way to answer all of these questions is to get through that terminal building and onto the ship. So I'll sign out here and I'll see all of you on that ship. Boarding the ship today wasn't a difficult task. All I had to do was stand in line, but it did seem to take absolutely forever. It took me over an hour to get from the end of this line here through to the front and inside the terminal building. That meant that by the time I then got on board, I was, to be honest, absolutely knackered. Now, after I got to the front of this line, I was given what Costa Cruises call a boarding card. That boarding card has a number on the top, and you have to wait for your boarding group to be called before you can then board the ship. So it took a little bit longer once inside. However, after about an hour and a half to 2 hours, I was then heading up the gangway and getting on the ship. Yes, with all of my paperwork in tow. There's always that great feeling, walking up to the end of the gangway and stepping onto that deck. I don't care if I'm only on there for one night, it always feels good. Walking into the main atrium of this cruise ship was a bit of a shock to the senses. It was so overstimulating in here compared to the other Costa ships I've been on before. I very quickly realised there are so many aspects of this ship that nod to an overall theme of music. Look, even the glass on the elevator doors is a violin. It's mad. Now, there's a huge dance floor here, and I couldn't help but think later today was probably going to be very busy in here. Yes, even the roof in here had musical notes on it. Overall, I was really impressed from a first impressions point of view. I couldn't wait to explore the other venues, and oh my goodness, each one was as busy and, shall we say, unique as the next. I even found a chapel on my journey from the ship up to my cabin. I have seen chapels on Costa ships before, so it wasn't really a surprise, but look at the design of these venues. Every single one you go into is just so, let's say, unique. After checking out some of the ship, which, yes, did blow my mind, I heard a ship's horn, which meant that either we were leaving or another one of our neighbouring cruise ships was leaving. So that meant one thing to me, and that was that I was going to get upstairs, get out onto the open decks for a little bit of cruise ship spotting. Yes, there's me there. I opted to stand right at the very top of the ship at the front, right in front of the kids' swimming pool and the kids' water slide. I wasn't sure there was enough water going down that water slide for me, so I didn't go on that for the fear of getting stuck halfway down. Our neighbours today were such a mix of ships. First up, there was Seven Seas Splendor, which is, yes, a cruise ship that I have never been on, nor do I know if I will ever have the privilege of getting onto one of those ships. It looked absolutely amazing. Next was Costa Smeralda, which is a ship I have been on before, so I loved seeing her leaving the port. And the final ship was a ship that, if you're watching this video today from the UK, you might be familiar, but it was Marella Explorer 2. And I couldn't help but think my earlier concern about will this feel like a ferry or a cruise ship, well, all these other cruise ships were certainly helping this to feel like a cruise. Here we are, we're now on board. I've actually already had my first faux pas of the trip, so my cabin is number 1028. Now I read that as cabin 28 on deck 1, so I went all the way down to deck 1. Turns out it's on deck 10, so I've gone down to 1 to now climb all the way back up to 10, so yes, I think I deserve the buffet after this, don't you? Anyway, here we are now on the correct deck, so let's now find the room. The way that Costa work the rooms is that all the rooms on one side of the ship are all even numbers, and on the other side they're all odd numbers, so it's pretty easy to find your way around once you get to the right deck. I do actually need to try and figure out what this ship's relationship to music is, because if you look behind me, there are musical instruments everywhere. Like, every single one of the doors, and even the elevator doors, are violins or, yeah, some kind of string instrument. Anyway, let's see, where are we going? 1048, 1046. Okay, we're going the right way. So we're going for 1028. Do you know what? First impressions on here are that this is a ship that's in really good condition. It seems in much better condition than Costa Diadema, which was one of the older ships I was on before. And lo and behold, we're home. So let's head in. My suitcase is also here, by the way, which is very good news, if I can get it in shot. Yes, I love when you get to your cruise ship cabin and your bag's already here. So anyway, let me see. And we're in. Oh, do you know what? This is actually... Oh, my Look what's on the bed. My disembarkation labels are already here. Of course they are, because I go off tomorrow morning. But yeah, this is rather, a really lovely little room. What I'm going to do is flip the camera, give you a quick tour, and then let's catch up on what has just happened and what the plan is now that we're on the ship. Here's my little home from home tonight. Now, I am actually really happy with this tonight. I would admit that the room would have to be in some state for me to not be happy, given the fact I'm only on for one night, and when I tell you what I've paid for this whole trip, I think you'll laugh. So, yeah, I've got the bed over here, which I've just shown you. I've got a desk over there with one light, and then you can maybe see another light in the corner. There's a TV, there's a safe, there's a strange mirror down there, not sure what that's doing. Loads of storage, not that I'll need any of it because I won't be unpacking. Over here, there's a really, I was going to say really nice, but very different glass light. And loads of storage over here as well. Wow, and these cupboards are all really deep too. And this presumably, yes, is the bathroom. Of course, there's a shower curtain. I would say that the bathroom is probably the most underwhelming part of the room, but I have absolutely zero reason to complain at all. Like, that's absolutely fine. And in fact, I've seen worse. I like things like the fact it's got a detachable shower head because I've mentioned before, I'm about 6'3" tall. So yeah, it means that I can just, sort myself out there. And yeah, let's not talk too much about that. But given the age of the ship, I'm not overly surprised to see a shower curtain. So that is my little room. It's cool, isn't it? I also like that the headboard behind the bed is verging on tartan. It's not quite tartan, that's me trying to make anything Scottish, even on an Italian cruise ship. But yes, look, let me settle myself down. I'm delighted to be on the ship, do you know, but I feel like I'm going to be getting off in no time. So let me settle myself down and I'll walk you through what's going on now. Hopefully you can tell that I am pretty happy with this cabin. One thing that I really like about Costa is that they provide so much paperwork. I remember the first time I took a Costa cruise, I thought, wow, that's far too much. But actually, let me walk you through what's here because I do see value in it. Now, we're not going to talk about these guys that will be going on my suitcase for tonight. I actually can't stop laughing at the fact I've just got on the ship. My bag is here, having just been brought into my room, and I'm about to put these tags on to put the bag back outside later. It's going to be very, very strange. Anyway, enough of them. A couple of generic bits of paper. We've got in-cabin breakfast, which I will not be taking advantage of. You've then got a Wi-Fi package advert, which, again, I'll not be taking advantage of, but actually, do you know what? For you to take the WhatsApp Wi-Fi package, it costs €5 a day. Social, which then includes social media, is €10 a day. And the full package, how much is that? Fee per day, €17? That must be if you buy it as part of a whole cruise. That isn't that good value. It also says on here that they're powered by Starlink. So if you're getting a Starlink cruise ship internet connection for 5, 10 or €17, you're doing all right. It also says fee for 24 hours, €39. So maybe that's what you pay if you're only on for the one night cruise. Now, anyway, let me show you the welcome kit. One thing that so many people are worried about with Costa is that they're not going to speak English on board. You can see that this welcome kit here has actually got a little Union Jack flag at the top, which means that all of this should, in theory, be in English, which, yes, it is. Yeah, we're doing well. Okay, first one. In true Costa fashion, this is an advert for basically everything that I could buy on here. So to give you a feel for that, I could buy a soft drinks package, an alcohol package, a young person's drink package, a special drink package, a spa package, a designer bag, internet package, gourmet dining package, shore excursion package, bingo package. There's a photo package. There's every kind of package on here. So yes, lots and lots of packages with a Costa cruise, but again, for a night, I won't be needing any of them. Then you've got the cruise guide. Now, this is a really useful document because if you've never cruised with Costa before, this will basically just show you how to do it, or it'll tell you how to do it. Things like, when can you use the pools? Where is the spa? Children and teens, what can they do? Is there a gym? How does seating work on the decks? How do you sign up for the casino? It's actually a really useful little document, this. I'll upload this to my website at FRASERATSEA.com in due course, and you'll be able to have a look at that for yourself. And then we've got another bit of paper advertising more shore excursions. which aren't even for my cruise. Well, we've got Marseille at the top, so I could go on them. There's then Savona and Le Seine-sur-Mer, which looks like Saint-Tropez, I think. Very strange. Imagine I tried to book a Savona tour, despite the fact I'm leaving the ship the day before. And this leaflet here is for me to buy the whole array of dining experiences, which, oh wait, that's different to the other one. It's just got an equally high amount of special offers on it. So yeah, if you're... I don't think I've seen this on Costa before. Maybe it's just been rebranded, but if you're planning to cruise with Costa, you've got lots of potential packages and deals that you could acquire. Lucky you. Now, my favourite document, and I thought I'd lost it there in the array of paperwork, is this. This is the Oggi a Bordo, which is Costa's daily schedule. And it's got everything in here that shows you basically what's on today and what's on tonight. So, the current plan. I have got on the ship, I've been for a walk. The buffet, I was too late for lunch, annoyingly, so the buffet lunch was just carbs, carbs, carbs. It was just a whole selection of breads. It was the strangest thing. Now, that's because I missed the lunch I got on before the dinner, and it's this strange sort of afternoon snack that Costa offer. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad to get some food, but yeah, just unlimited bread quantities, to be honest. Tonight, I'm hoping that I can do dinner, a show, a bit of time in the casino, and then my usual wander about the ship routine that I just love when I cruise. If I can do all that, then I think my question earlier of does this feel like a ferry or a cruise ship, I think it will be that it feels like a cruise. But I'm not sure because we're still docked at the moment, so who knows? There was a number of other ships docked with us earlier, and they're all now gone. The current time is 5 to 8 at night, and we're still well and truly attached to that dock. So, I don't know, it's going to feel really weird if we don't leave soon. It's surprising me that it is so late and we're still here, but I guess it's such a short distance to travel tonight. So I'm hopefully going to go for dinner at the buffet, which I'll take you all along to. Then I'll come back here to get changed, and then I'll head out around the ship. I want to go for dinner along there because then I can just chill in my own clothes and I don't need to get dressed for a restaurant. And then I can also make the later show, which is at 9:30. Yeah, 9:30, but the theatre on here looks lovely, so I'm very intrigued about that. Anyway, paperwork aside, bready lunch aside, let's now go get a bite to eat, see what dinner looks like on here, and I'll see all of you in a bit. As I got to the buffet for dinner, I noticed outside that we had actually pushed off from the berth and we were beginning the process of sailing away. That meant that my dinner plans were ditched for now because I absolutely love watching my cruise ship sail out of port, no matter where in the world I am. I've been lucky enough to cruise from Barcelona countless times now, but I still love watching us leave the city. No matter how many times you see a sail away, every single one of them genuinely looks and feels different in my opinion. As you know, I went to the buffet for dinner tonight. I was really impressed with the space. The 2 levels above the buffet here were the pizzeria and also the elite restaurant. It was really cool to see all the different venues looking down into the buffet. I went for some chicken, some salad, some rice, and then I also got some pasta. It might not look very appetising, but I always say with Costa Cruises food that it doesn't look great from a photo point of view, but it tastes so good. After that, I headed along to the theatre. You can see here it was busy. It was a Tina Turner act tonight, and I wasn't sure what to expect because I was worried that a lot of the show wouldn't be in English. But actually, it was a performer who spoke almost exclusively in English. She was absolutely fantastic. She even got a full standing ovation at the end of the show, which was brilliant to see. After the show, I then headed out and about around the ship. It was great to see venues that I'd popped by earlier now coming to life. I always am really impressed with the nightlife on board a Costa Cruises ship. People seem to stay up so late. There was some kind of flower power party going on in the atrium, but I didn't have any costume or anything with me like some people. I had no idea this was happening before the cruise. I'm not sure if there might be a way to find out in advance. Anyway, I knew it was time for me to head upstairs and think about bed. Just like that, it's the end of the night, and I'm knackered and ready to go to bed. Embarkation day always takes it out of me, but today has been made so much more extreme because embarkation day is also the day that you're getting ready to leave the ship. It's a very strange feeling. Now, there's no part of me that doesn't feel like I'm on a cruise at the moment. I know that earlier I was saying, will it feel like a ferry? Will it feel like a cruise? This definitely feels like a cruise, and I think I figured out the reason why. So with Costa, they are one of the cruise lines where in the Med you can typically embark and disembark at any port. I think that might also be the case for Costa cruises and ships that you go on elsewhere around the world, but it certainly is for the Med. What that means is that while I'm on here for one night, so many other people are on for 4 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights, maybe even longer. So as I walk through the corridor at the end of tonight, it's not a case of everybody's bags are out and everybody's ready to go home tomorrow. I think that might make it feel like a bit more of a ferry, but this to me, it feels like I'm like a visiting guest on a cruise ship, if that makes sense. It's a very strange feeling. It's as if I'm popping in on all of these other people's holidays just for a night. It's a very strange concept. I'm not sure if I'd repeat it, and I'm also not sure if I'd recommend it for other people. It feels like a cruise. It feels like I'm on a cruise, but it feels like I'm on other people's cruise rather than my own. Very strange. I'm going to sleep on it and see how I feel tomorrow morning because, yeah, bit of a weird one, isn't it? Anyway, I have come upstairs to get some water because with Costa you have to pay €1 per glass of water. Or if you bring your own bottle onto the ship, then you can get that filled up free of charge during mealtimes. So I've just filled that up at late night snacks, ready to retreat back to my cabin. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed having a look around tonight. I am going to sleep on my overall conclusion of this whole experience, and I will see all of you down in the cabin, unfortunately bright and early because I have to leave the cabin by 8 AM, bright and early tomorrow morning. Good night. I didn't sleep very well overnight, which I'll tell you more about shortly. The positive to that was that I was up and ready to get out of my inside cabin nice and early. I was able to get out on deck to watch us sailing into Marseille. Now look at where I got to watch sail in from. Isn't this awesome? I even got to see the pilot boat arriving, which is something that I've very rarely seen before on other cruises. Now, welcome to Marseille. Did you know that Marseille is now the leading cruise port in France, and it's actually the 5th largest cruise port in the Mediterranean? I was hoping to see lots of other cruise ships coming in with us this morning, but we were pretty much lone rangers in port, which I thought must have been unusual. Anyway, now that we've arrived in Marseille, let me take you back to the cabin and update you on what happened overnight. Morning everyone, it's now disembarkation day, which feels very strange to be saying, but I've had one of those nights where I genuinely feel like I've hardly slept. When I went to bed last night, it must have been quite foggy outside, which means that the ship then has to repeatedly sound its horn. So it was as if every time I would just drop off, the horn would go and it would startle me back awake again. I've never had that on a ship before because usually I find it a really relaxing noise because I'm inside, all cozy, and the weather's miserable outside, but the location of this room must mean that I'm a little bit closer to that horn than usual, but it's not a bad thing. It's just part of the cruise experience, especially when it is only one night. But hey, I am now getting ready to leave the ship. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, 5:28 actually, so I'll be getting kicked out of this room very, very shortly. So let me fill you in really briefly on what the plan is this morning. Now, my bag has already left, which means that I've just got, luckily, a free bag that I got from my hotel in Barcelona that I can use to put my overnight things in, because I completely forgot about that. Because when you cruise, your suitcase goes out the night before. So my bag went out last night and I need somewhere to put all my things. So this tote bag, hopefully, is going to do the job. So I'm going to pack that. I'm then going to head out for breakfast. Now, breakfast this morning, you could go for a sit-down buffet, a sit-down restaurant breakfast, but in my experience from other Costa ships, the restaurant becomes a buffet. So I'm actually just going to go to the buffet. So the restaurant, you could go down there until 9 a.m, or the buffet, you can go until 10:30 a.m. So I'm going to go for the latter. And disembarkation times today, I can leave this ship all the way up until 11:45 this morning. How good is that? It's one of the things that I've always raved about Costa. The fact that I can be on here so much later in the day than so many other cruise lines. I've cruised with other lines before, where by 8:30 in the morning, I'm off on the dock, ready to go home. Whereas with Costa, it's totally fine for me to be here until right up until midday. That's going to work great for me because my hotel in Marseille won't be available for check-in until about 2 p.m. So that means that by the time I get from the ship into the city and to the hotel, all should be absolutely fine. He says, fingers crossed. Now, I will catch up with you at that hotel about wrapping up on where my head's at following last night. I'll also run through money with you, so how much have I actually paid for this cruise? And finally, would I recommend it? Because last night, I think I was pretty clear that I wouldn't, but I'll update you on where my head's at once we get to the hotel. All I'm going to do now then is head out of this room, go and do a final bit of exploring of the ship, and yeah, from my little cabin here on deck 10, I guess it's goodbye for now, and I'll see you along at the hotel in the city. So what did my morning on board look like? Well, after having dinner at the buffet last night, I thought, do you know what? It's probably going to be nice and quiet, it'll be organised, I'll be absolutely fine in there. Well, the food, all, to be honest, looked really good. I couldn't criticise this breakfast buffet at all compared to what I've seen on other ships. I didn't love the design of this space because it meant that everyone was sort of crushing past each other. Now, I did manage to get my breakfast here, which was just some fruit, sausage, ham, potato and beans. But due to the fact it was so busy, I just had to perch at the end of this table, which, yeah, didn't get cleaned up for the whole time I was there. After that, I headed to the upper level of the Lido, where I was able to enjoy my chocolate pastries and my coffee in total peace and quiet. So it just shows you, sometimes it pays to take your food out with you. One thing I would say before leaving the ship is that my first impressions of this ship overall were really high, but throughout my one-night cruise on board, I grew increasingly frustrated with the amount of signage that was just simply old and therefore incorrect. There were venues showing on there that don't exist anymore, and new venues which have been added also weren't there. There were also a lot of parts of the ship that were under maintenance or out of service. For example, bathroom stalls, sinks, credit card machines, photo machines, arcade games. You get the picture. There was quite a lot that wasn't actually working on board. I'm hoping that's just something that I saw while on the ship, but hopefully it's all fixed now. Anyway, before I knew it, it was time to head down the gangway, have one final look at the ship, and then head along to Marseille. It's just gone 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've just walked into my hotel room here in Marseille, and it feels good to be able to sit back, chill out, and let my hair down a bit. I haven't found the last 24 hours relaxing by any stretch of the imagination, so I did enjoy being on the ship, but I know that I'm going to really enjoy being here and having a little bit of recharge time now. It's been great today to be able to spend some time on board this morning. So many cruise lines, as soon as the ship docks, they're really keen to kick you off and to get rid of you so that they can begin embarking the next lot of passengers. But today I didn't leave the ship until just after midday. I thought that was excellent because had I embarked yesterday at the time that I did and then left at 8 o'clock this morning, it would have felt like such a quick trip and it would have felt a bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. So yeah, I've really enjoyed being able to stay late, have breakfast, have a light lunch, also have a couple of coffees. So much better than coming to this hotel to find my room not ready, to then dump my bag, to kill time somewhere else. So yeah, really big thumbs up on that one. Now let's move on and talk about money, because this is something that I'm sure a couple of you watching are very intrigued to know how much a one-night cruise in the Mediterranean actually would cost you. Now, I've worked out the basic conversion between pounds, euros and US dollars. So if you are using a different currency to that, then hopefully you can work your own way around these numbers. But for the cruise, I paid 64 British pounds, which I'm looking at my conversion rate on the side, equates to, by my workings, 84 US dollars. Now, that included the cruise fare. So that was my room for the night, my food while on board at the included dining venues, and all of the included entertainment. So, for example, the show, the live music around the ship, all of that is totally included. Now, with Costa Cruises, one thing that is not then included is the additional service charge that goes on top. Costa Cruises call this a service charge, but some cruise lines refer to it as a gratuity payment or a gratuity charge, or maybe even tips, depending on what part of the world you come from. Now, that charge has gone onto my account at €11. That would then be billed per person per night if you were planning to cruise for a number of nights on a Costa Cruises ship. But because I was only on for one night, it's only €11 for me. That means that €11 would translate to £9.50 if you're watching from the UK, or $12.50 if you're watching from the US. That then means that my total cruise fare for this one night cruise is £73.50 or $96.50. Now, did I think that was good value, or would I avoid it and go for another type of trip? Well, to be honest, there is only one way of answering that, and that is that I think the value there is absolutely exceptional. You have to remember that that also includes a solo supplement. So if I was travelling on that cruise with someone, I would have shared a room and then brought my per person payment even lower than that. So if I can get on a cruise ship for that price for a night, I'm going to take it. Now, there are obviously some compromises that you make when it comes to cruising with Costa, because there's a lot of upselling that goes on. So I could go on that ship and I could spend way more than the cruise fare again by the time I buy specialty coffees, drinks at the bar, a specialty dinner, so on and so forth. That really quickly does rack up. But for a one-night cruise or a two-night cruise, the included options are absolutely fine on there. Now, what have I thought of this whole overall experience, and would I recommend it? Well, a couple of things that have got to me over the last day, and that is that I haven't found this ship from Costa to be as on it as what I've seen from Costa in the past. Previously, I've cruised on Toscana, Smeralda and Diadema, so 3 of their other ships, and I was so impressed with how, what I would say, on point everything was. So everything just felt really slick and it felt like a really well-oiled machine. But simple things were letting Pacifica down that's really, it's not annoyed me, I'd say it's maybe just disappointed me. Things like the signage being wrong throughout the ship. There's venues on the ship that have obviously been upgraded or changed to become different venues now, but the old names all still remain. There's also real inconsistencies with how things like the floor map signage is applied. Sometimes the ship faces that way, sometimes the ship faces that way, and it's really annoying when you're on board for one night to try and get your bearings because the signage just doesn't seem right. I also found quite a lot of the facilities to be out of order during this cruise, which is something that I wouldn't say is typical of Costa based in my experience. Now, that means things like sinks, things like gaming arcade machines, or maybe even coffee machines by the pool. I did find that aspect of it really quite disappointing because in the past I've been super impressed that for the price point Costa are offering, everything on board just seems to be so well maintained and absolutely immaculate. So let me know in the comments if you've cruised with Costa and if you've also had that experience, or if this is maybe, hopefully, just a one-off that I've just maybe had a bad week on, not a bad ship, just a bad week on the ship. Yeah. I can't summarise it anything other than just a bit disappointed, to be honest. But all in all, the experience did feel like a cruise. It felt like a very, very quick cruise, especially for me trying to run around and do all my YouTube bits as well. I think if I didn't have this YouTube channel, then I think I probably would relax on there because I wouldn't be as frantically trying to see everything. I probably would just relax at a bar for a few hours and then let the ship sail me to the next city. But personally, I probably wouldn't do another really short one-nighter again. I have done two-nighters before and I really enjoyed them, but one-nighter, yeah, I think that's a little bit of a push. But again, let me know down in the comments what you think. Have you enjoyed seeing what it's like to take a one-night cruise with Costa? And are you tempted? I would love to know if you're considering jumping on Google and looking for one-night cruises close to you. The final point I would make is that I wouldn't go out of my way to travel for a one-night cruise, because if I was living in the US and I lived in Miami, for example, then okay, I might jump on a one-nighter. If I lived in the UK and lived near Southampton, then yeah, I might do it there too. But I've only taken this one-nighter from Barcelona because I'm coming out here for another cruise in a few days anyway. So it was really nice to be able to bolt this on while I'm out on the continent. So I definitely wouldn't fly out all this way just to do a one-night trip. And that's it. That's what a one-night cruise on board a Costa Cruises ship looks like. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video today, and if you have, it would be great if you would support my channel by clicking both the thumbs up and the subscribe buttons to come with me on so many more ships. If you'd like to stay on the topic of short cruises, then why not come and join me over in this video. Here, I took a short cruise on board Paradise, which was the original ship in the Margaritaville at Sea Fleet. And this one is so different to the one that I've just showed you in this video. I'll hopefully see you over there, and thank you so much for watching.